Helen Carter stood at the edge of Clearwater, a quaint little town nestled in the arms of an endless wilderness. The sky overhead was a deep cerulean, the kind of color that seemed to drink in the midday sun without letting it go. She felt the vibrations again, subtle yet undeniably present, coursing through the soles of her feet as if the earth itself was humming a secret tune. Helen's thoughts roamed as she looked out upon the sea of pines. Since the solar flare had wiped out most modern technology, towns like Clearwater had become unexpected sanctuaries. Here, life ticked by with a clockwork rhythm that seemed almost anachronistic. But these vibrations, they were an anomaly. A whisper from the world of before, or perhaps, from a world yet to be understood. A former astrophysicist, Helen's instincts were honed to question, to probe the universe's mysteries. While the world slept in the cradle of the sun's temperamental blaze, it seemed she was the only one awake, listening. "What are you trying to tell me?" she murmured to the wind, her voice barely above a breath. She turned away from the view, retreating back to the small, unassuming cottage she called home. Around her were modest flower beds, a testament to her weeks of persistence and the soft, persistent patter of rain. Inside, she set a worn notebook on the kitchen table, its pages filled with equations and half-formed hypotheses scribbled in a rush of inspiration. Helen sat down, fingers tapping a nimble rhythm on the wooden surface. "Imagine if this is a new form of communication," she mused, her thoughts racing. "A way to bridge the silence that post-flare has imposed upon us." Her heart beats with excitement and a hint of fear. Her life in Clearwater had been quiet, almost too quiet for a mind accustomed to the cacophony of a bustling research lab. As the sun dipped low, the vibrations intensified, a soft pulsation that seemed to beckon her. Helen knew she could not ignore them any longer. "I have to know," she resolved, standing abruptly, determination set in her gaze. The wilderness was calling, and she, with a heart both trepidatious and excited, was ready to answer. The trees loomed tall and ancient around Helen as she ventured deeper into Clearwater forest, their leaves whispering secrets in a language lost to time. The air was cool and moist, filled with the earthy perfume of rain-nourished soil and the sharp tang of pine. Helen moved carefully, every step a deliberate choice as she navigated the tangled roots and uneven terrain. The only sounds were the gentle rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of a forest creature startled by her presence. Despite the tranquility, the vibrations thrummed beneath her boots with increasing clarity. They guided her path more surely than any map. There has to be something more, she thought, her mind buzzing with curiosity and a tinge of apprehension. As she delved deeper, remnants of old technology began appearing like ghosts amidst the foliage. An overgrown satellite dish lay half buried in a thicket, its metal more rusted and silent. Further along, she found fragments of solar panels, their surfaces cracked and matted with lichen, standing as silent sentinels over nature's reclamation. Artifacts of the world before, Helen mused aloud, pressing her palm against the cool surface of an abandoned circuit board embedded in a tree trunk. Her heart ached with nostalgia, a memory of times when the world stretched far and wide, connecting lives and stories across continents. The vibrations drew her onward, deeper into the heart of the forest where the boundary between technology and nature blurred into an enigma. Could these remnants be linked? She wondered, a hypothesis weaving together in her scientific mind. Then, she stumbled upon a small clearing, the forest's embrace opening up to reveal a scene that took her breath away. In the center stood an ancient stone monolith, its surface etched with odd symbols and what appeared to be circuit patterns. The vibrations were strongest here, a symphony resonating with purpose and mystery. Helen stood transfixed, her breath catching in her throat. This could be it, she whispered, a thrill of discovery surging through her veins. Amidst the stillness, she felt the pulse of something greater, something waiting to be understood. Determined, she pulled out her notebook and began to sketch the designs, each stroke of pencil on paper an echo of wonder and anticipation, fueled by the enigmatic heartbeat of the earth below. As the days blended into one another, Helen found herself drawn repeatedly to the monolith. It stood like a guardian in the clearing, each visit revealing a new layer of its mysteries. The sun hovered near the horizon as Helen knelt beside the stone, a kerchief tied over her hair to shield against the slight autumn chill. Her fingers traced the intricate patterns once more, their shapes both familiar and alien. "What are you trying to say?" she pondered, her mind reaching for threads of comprehension. The vibrations, now familiar rhythms beneath her touch, guided her thoughts, suggesting sequences and languages she had never encountered. It was as if the monolith spoke in a symphony just beyond her hearing. "They're not random," she murmured to herself, flipping through her notebook pages filled with annotations and sketches. "It's a signal, a form of communication, perhaps a language. But whose?" Helen's mind raced, fueled by her training and innate curiosity. Could this be from a sentient entity? The idea was both exhilarating and overwhelming. The implications spun her into a web of possibilities. She realized that unlocking this code could bridge the existential chasm that the solar flare had imposed. She imagined what it could mean for humanity, to speak across unseen distances, to reconnect not just within, but beyond the Earth, the dream of reaching the silent spheres above, civilization's old yearning. As the last of the day's light surrendered to twilight, Helen remained by the monolith, her mind electric with discovery, even as fatigue whispered for rest. "If this is a voice," she resolved, "then we must learn to listen." She gathered her things, casting one last look at the monolith, now silhouetted against the indigo sky. Her heart was full, imbued with the shared beating of those vibrations, a message of potential waiting to unfurl. Each step back to Clearwater hummed with newfound purpose. Helen knew this secret must be shared. She understood too the weight of its discovery. The solitude of the path she walked now seemed ripe with hope, even as she anticipated the challenges that undoubtedly lay ahead. Lawrence Fisk paced the length of the old community hall, the floorboards creaking under his boots with each step. His sharp gaze swept over the gathered townsfolk, faces familiar and dear yet shadowed with concern. "I've heard the reports," Lawrence said, a commanding edge to his voice. His large frame seemed to fill the room, his presence as steadfast and immovable as the mountains cradling Clearwater. "Helen Carter has been out there, poking around God knows what. Making things stir that should be left alone." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, fear, curiosity, skepticism. Helen was known to most as the quiet woman who grew vegetables on Cedar Street, not the persistent mind of an astrophysicist. Lawrence paused, his expression momentarily softer as he met the eyes of his neighbors. "I understand she's curious. But these vibrations, we don't know what they're capable of. We can't risk our community's safety." The room fell silent, everyone weighing the unspoken fears hanging in the air like a specter. Helen's explorations were more than an individual's quest, they were a potential threat, a ripple in the fragile peace they had managed to carve from calamity. "She's putting us all at risk," boomed a voice from the back, belonging to Jacob, a long-time resident with deep-set eyes and a penchant for caution. Lawrence nodded, drawing strength from the agreement. "Exactly. But not all faces in the room shared that sentiment," Helen noted silently from the doorway, unnoticed by most. She could see the apprehension, yet also the flickers of intrigue in the eyes of those who had looked to the stars with wonder, not just suspicion. Stepping forward, she felt her heart pound with the urgency of someone who understands a truth but needs to find the words to share it. "Lawrence," she called out, her voice steady but pleading. His eyes found hers, and the crowd turned, parting like the sea. "Helen," Lawrence acknowledged, not unkindly, but with the steel of authority. "What you're doing out there, it's dangerous." "It might be our chance," she argued, stepping further into the room's dim light. "I believe the vibrations are communicating something vital. Possibly a message, from a time or something we haven't understood yet." She could see the doubt clearly etched in his furrowed brow. "I know how it sounds. But can we afford to not know? If there's something, anything, that can help us connect, to rebuild, shouldn't we at least explore that possibility?" Lawrence hesitated, the hesitation of a leader caught between protection and progress. The room waited, caught in the tension of that moment, a breath held in fear of what might be lost, and of what might be found. Helen sat at her kitchen table, the morning light sifting through the lace curtains like fine gold dust. Despite the warmth, a cold knot of frustration had nestled deep within her. The meeting at the community hall had not gone how she had hoped. Lawrence's influence held firm, and now she faced the roadblock of fear and skepticism that guarded the path to discovery. "Why can't they see?" she whispered, her hands fisted on the table, the worn-wood a comforting reality beneath her palms. Yet all was not lost. Hidden in the crowd were others whose eyes had sparked with interest rather than fear. Helen knew she needed allies, people who could see past trepidation and into the horizon she envisioned. After breakfast, she made her way to the small marketplace, a patchwork of stalls where the community gathered amidst the kaleidoscope of goods, produce, textiles, and the odd trinket reminiscent of an era past. Here she found Emily, the town's librarian and a kindred spirit when it came to curiosity about the world beyond Clearwater's borders. "Emily," Helen greeted, trying to sound casual as she browsed through a stack of old paperbacks. Emily glanced up, then smiled warmly. "Helen, good morning. I heard about the meeting." Nodding, Helen gave a rueful chuckle. "Word travels fast. This town could use more dreamers," Emily said, her voice a quiet rebellion against complacency. "People need to remember what it felt like to wonder." Encouraged, Helen spoke quickly, keeping her voice low. "I need to show them it's not dangerous. Meet me at the clearing tonight? I think I can prove the vibration's purpose." Emily hesitated, glancing around as if weighing the risk. However, the curiosity in her eyes beat the caution in her heart. "All right, I'll come. But be careful, Lawrence's patrols are watching." With a grateful nod, Helen left the marketplace, feeling lighter. She spent the rest of the day gathering evidence for her evening demonstration, a collection of soil samples, sketches, and a hope that whispered through her veins. As dusk fell, she set out for the clearing with the intent to illuminate more than just the mystery. It was a step towards bridging intangible distances, uniting open minds ready to listen to the heartbeat of the earth. The forest was alive with the swirl of soft nocturnal sounds as Helen made her way to the clearing. Shadows played upon the trees, the moonlight weaving a silvery thread through their branches. Around her, the night seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the culmination of forces it barely understood. Helen moved with practiced quiet, Emily by her side, both alert for the signs of Lawrence's self-styled patrols. Earlier murmurs of voices dissipated as darkness cloaked the trees. When they reached the clearing, a soft shiver of anticipation ran down Helen's spine. "This feels different tonight," she whispered, glancing at Emily. The monolith loomed against the star-dotted sky, a timeless custodian of secrets. Helen approached it, feeling the vibrations surge through her like a warm current, as if the earth itself acknowledged her presence. Carefully, she set up her makeshift assembly of components, relics of lost technology she intended to use for her demonstration. "Here's hoping," she muttered, connecting the wires to the stone, crafting a bridge between now and the whispers of then. Lights flickered to life, casting an otherworldly glow around the monolith, illuminating the etched patterns in a dance of shadows and light. The air quivered with unspoken promises. Emily gasped softly, a sound of beauty and surprise, while Helen stood transfixed, awed by the response. The vibrations spoke, resonating in a frequency that sank through their very bones. Then the forest rustled, Lawrence and his followers emerged, their expressions stern, distrust painted in every glance. "What's going on here?" Lawrence demanded, yet there was no malice, only cautious inquiry. Helen found her voice, calm and assured. "Listen," she urged. "This isn't a threat. It's a message, asking us to listen, to learn." She gestured to the harmonizing lights, the pulsing stone. "I believe it's an ancient intelligence communicating peace and cooperation." The night air thrummed with the truth of her words, resonating even with those trained to doubt. Lawrence paused, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the tangible light show before him, a scientific spectre given life by belief and understanding. In that fragile moment of comprehension, the gulf between skeptic and seeker began to narrow. The wilderness carried an ancient message, and finally, they all listened. The dawn broke gently over Clearwater, the first light tinged with hues of rose and gold, breathing new life into the weary town. In the heart of the clearing, surrounded by the towering sentinels of wood and stone, Helen stood with Lawrence, facing the future with cautious hope. The revelations of the night lingered in the air, a shared secret that whispered possibilities. The monolith, stoic and silent now, had granted them a glimpse of what could be, an opportunity to reconnect, to rebuild with the guidance of a voice both ancient and wise. "I didn't know what to expect," Lawrence confessed, his gaze steady yet thoughtful as it rested on Helen, respect replacing doubt. "But I see now this isn't something to fear." It was an admission, humble and solid, a foundation upon which understanding could be built. Helen smiled softly, relief and gratitude weaving through her exhaustion. "Together, we can learn what it means, what it offers us." Around them, the town had gathered quietly, a mix of awe, curiosity, and the first tendrils of budding faith. The previous night had altered perceptions, planted seeds of courage to explore what lay beyond the immediate and tangible. Helen stepped forward, addressing the crowd, her voice carrying with it the conviction of a path chosen and pursued. "This knowledge, these messages, what if they are our link to not just reclaim the past but to forge a new future?" People listened, truly listened, their hearts open to the possibilities she painted, a community not just surviving but thriving, connected to the greater universe once more. Emily joined Helen's side, the reflected wonder in her eyes testament enough to the impact of their shared vision. "It's more than we expected," she said gently. "This is bigger than us, isn't it?" Helen nodded, aware of their journey's beginning, the vast unknown unraveling before them. "Yes," she agreed, her heart full. "And we are part of something wondrous." As plans formed to decode further messages, to build tools as bridges across silence, Helen felt an invigorating sense of purpose. The universe had reached out, and this small town nestled in its wilderness had chosen to reach back. Together, they would decipher the vibrant symphony of the Earth's hidden song, an endeavor that promised to rekindle lost connections, offering hope and understanding in equal measure. And so, under the ever-watchful gaze of the monolith and the timeless sky, Clearwater stepped forward, into the dawn of a new era.